What's going on, everyone? NFL free agency begins on March 17th, and this year will be unprecedented because the salary cap dropped from the pandemic. NFL teams are going to look a lot different next year, and that will include at the quarterback position, where I believe that 13 teams will have a week 1 starting quarterback in 2021 that was different than their quarterback in 2020. I'm AB Sports, and let's get into it. First, I have a tier called 0% chance they'll leave. And this tier includes 11 quarterbacks, which are Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Ryan Tannehill, Lamar Jackson, Ben Roethlisberger, Baker Mayfield, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, and Kyler Murray. 8 of these quarterbacks were in the playoffs last year and are foundational pieces of their team. 1 is last year's Offensive Rookie of the Year, Justin Herbert. 2 are the last 2 first overall picks in Joe Burrow and Kyler Murray. Tom Brady just won the Super Bowl. Mahomes, Lamar, and Rodgers have each won MVP in the last 3 years. All these guys are staying. And interestingly enough, only 3 of these quarterbacks are in the NFC. 8 are in the AFC. And the entire AFC North is on this list with Lamar, Ben, Baker, and Burrow. Next up, I have 3 quarterbacks who aren't quite good enough to be in that tier above, but they've shown enough to at least get one more chance with the team they're on. And they are Kirk Cousins, Daniel Jones, and Derek Carr. I couldn't really find a reason for these teams to get rid of these quarterbacks, so I just had them keep them for at least one more year, but they definitely need to probably all make the playoffs this year to be able to be on that team in 2022. These next 5 teams, there have been rumors swirling around about them changing their quarterbacks, but I don't think it's going to happen. Starting off with the Seahawks, who would be crazy to trade Russell Wilson. This is different than the Deshaun Watson situation. Watson has demanded a trade from the Texans. Wilson hasn't demanded or even requested a trade. He's just expressed that he's unhappy with the organization. The Seahawks need to make him happy real quick because he is their entire team. Also staying, Dak. The Cowboys' offense was on fire with Dak, and it sputtered after his injury. Whether it's under the franchise tag or on a long-term deal, I think the Cowboys will keep Dak Prescott. Next up, Jimmy Garoppolo and the 49ers. I'm not ruling out the Niners drafting a rookie, but I think they will hold on to Garoppolo and that he will start in week 1. For all of his limitations with accuracy and his variety of injuries, Jimmy Garoppolo wins when he is on the field, and the Niners should try to recreate 2019 with George Kittle and many defenders coming back from injury. Next up, Matt Ryan on the Falcons. I think the Falcons would be better off drafting an elite defender and keeping Matt Ryan, because their offense wasn't the problem last year. They kept losing shootouts because their defense couldn't stop anybody. Also, if they cut Matt Ryan or bench him, he is still making $30 million. Last on this list is Tua on the Dolphins. I personally wouldn't keep Tua, but I think the Dolphins will, because the only reason they will get off of him is if they get Deshaun Watson. I think there's another team who's more desperate than the Dolphins at the quarterback position and will be willing to give more up, but we'll get to that later. These next 3 quarterbacks were backups last year, and I think this year they will become starters on the same team that they were backups on last year. First up, Jalen Hurts. This one's pretty obvious because the Eagles traded away Carson Wentz, and now the Eagles' quarterback position is Jalen Hurts' to lose. And the Saints are next. The Saints are interesting because with Drew Brees almost certainly retiring, there are many ways they could play this. They could try to pursue Sam Darnold. They could trade up in the draft. Or they could go with one of the capable backups they had last year, Taysom Hill and Jameis Winston. I personally don't think Taysom Hill can work as a 16-week NFL quarterback starter, but I think the Saints should definitely keep him as a backup or use him as a Swiss Army knife. That leaves Jameis Winston. He's always had the talent, and now with great coaching in Sean Payton, I think Jameis Winston will be the next quarterback of the New Orleans Saints. Next up, Tom Brady played against Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers, and Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. And the quarterback who was closest to beating him was the man who just got a 2-year extension with the Washington football team, Taylor Heinicke. He really did show a lot of promise on one of the biggest stages you can ask a quarterback to play on, in the playoffs against Tom Brady. I think Washington will reward him with the start since they just released Alex Smith. So 4 of the 10 teams who are going to change quarterbacks this year, it's pretty obvious who their new quarterback is going to be. One of them is Matthew Stafford on the Rams. They traded away Goff and a couple first-round picks for Stafford, and I think Stafford will turn the Rams into a Super Bowl contender. I think this was a great move. A similar situation is the Colts, who just traded for Carson Wentz. With the retirement of Phillip Rivers, the Colts traded for Wentz to reunite him with Frank Reich, who was his offensive coordinator in the 2017 Eagles Super Bowl run. I think this is a good pairing. Wentz won't have to carry the whole team and force bad turnovers because the Colts have an elite defense, elite offensive line, and a star running back in Jonathan Taylor. In a similar situation to these two, Jared Goff. I don't personally think Goff is any good, but the Lions are going to pay him a lot of money, and they're going to go 3-13 no matter who their quarterback is, so might as well start Goff. And the Jags with Trevor Lawrence. The Jags have the first pick in the draft. Trevor Lawrence is known as a top 5 quarterback prospect of all time. The Jags will take him first overall, and he will hopefully be in the black and teal for a long time. Now next up, 6 teams where we don't really know who their quarterback is going to be next year, but we know that it's probably not the guy who's currently on their team. We've got Carolina, Houston, Chicago, the Jets, New England, and Denver. Time to find out who my best guess is for who these teams will have as their quarterback in 2021. And we'll start off with the most anticipated, the Deshaun Watson projected destination. I think the Texans really want to hold on to him, but he's already said he's willing to sit out regular season games, and they can get so much for him to trade. I wanted to see Deshaun Watson in the black and blue on the Carolina Panthers. Their offensive coordinator is Joe Brady, who was LSU's offensive coordinator when they won the national championship. Watson and Christian McCaffrey would be in the same backfield, and they might be the 2 most electric playmakers in the league. Watson went to Clemson, which is in South Carolina. It all just seems to make too much sense. But that takes us to Houston, where a quarterback domino has to fall. Obviously, they won't have Deshaun Watson. I think the trade will include at least 3 first-round picks and Teddy Bridgewater along with a defensive starter. That will give Houston the 8th overall pick, where I think they will either trade up or wait till that spot and draft Justin Fields out of Ohio State. That will give Houston Teddy Bridgewater and Justin Fields and draft picks to start their rebuild. Now, let's move on to the Jets, who don't get Deshaun Watson, but still have Sam Darnold. They can keep Darnold or take a quarterback with the 2nd pick in the draft. I don't think Darnold is bad, but the Jets need a fresh start, and they'll find that with BYU's Zach Wilson. Most of the draft analysts have him as more of an NFL-ready prospect than Justin Fields, and the Jets need someone who can play now. They would also need to trade Darnold because he becomes a free agent after the 2021 season, and they don't want to get no return from their 2018 3rd overall pick. So, I'm predicting a Sam Darnold trade to the Bears. Chicago doesn't have much draft capital and would maybe only have to give a couple seconds up for Sam Darnold after seeing what Wentz got traded for. Trubisky is a free agent. Chicago still has Nick Foles as a backup, but that's what he should be, a backup. Darnold would be a great fit on the physical Bears. And now there are 2 teams left, the New England Patriots and the Denver Broncos, and these 2 teams were the hardest to try and figure out. For Denver, I think they will keep Drew Lock but sign Ryan Fitzpatrick in free agency. I don't think Fitz will return to Miami because I think he can still start. I think he will go somewhere where he can take over the starting role. Miami benched him last year, and they really want to see what they have in Tua. Drew Lock is not the answer, and Fitzpatrick can be a nice quarterback for Denver as they try to build up the rest of their team before going all in on a new franchise quarterback. They aren't winning their division anytime soon, no matter who the quarterback is with Kansas City to compete with. And last but not least is the Patriots. Cam Newton was terrible last year, and they aren't running it back with him. Stidham isn't any good, and with Brady's Super Bowl win, Belichick has pressure to win now. With New England's lack of explosive weapons on offense, they need a playmaking quarterback. And they can find that by trading up in the draft for North Dakota State's Trey Lance. That is my prediction for every NFL team's starting quarterback for the 2021 season. I have some ideas about where some of the 2020 starters are going to end up that aren't starting anymore. I think the Jags will keep Minshew as a backup. Drew Brees and Phillip Rivers are retired. I think Mitch Trubisky will find a backup job in Arizona because he can have another mobile quarterback to run the same Cardinal system that Kyler can run. He could win a few games with DeAndre Hopkins. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Please like and subscribe to the channel, and thanks for watching.